All right. Hey, Mediocre Gamer fam. It is I'm not gonna say the one and only, but I'm one half of the Mediocre Gamer Collective here on the Mediocre Gamer Podcast. I'm here with my best friend in the world, AJ. AJ, how are you?
I am doing great. We're halfway through the week. It's a Wednesday, and also it is Valentine's Day, which is kind of irrelevant to a single person like me. But for you, I'm sure that's a somewhat exciting day.
Yes, as a not single person, let me tell you, I'm thankful I got someone that's real easy. Literally, as soon as my girlfriend gets off work, I'm gonna give her flowers, some candy, and then we're gonna go and get burgers because she really
Nice.
likes a specific type of burger, and we
Nice.
hadn't been.
Is it a local place or is it a chain?
So it's not local. It's a chain. It's Culver's. They
Oh,
just didn't pay us.
gas.
They have really good. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you know what Culver's is. There are so many people like who live around the Culver's, then they have no idea what it is.
Their
It's amazing.
their
Burgers are
cheese
great.
curds, their
Literally.
burgers, the fries. You dip them
Oh
into
yeah.
milkshakes. Oh yeah, I know all about the Culver's experience. Their
Listen, I
butter
remember the
burgers.
first because what the way I discovered it, this is a slightly off
Mm-hmm.
topic, but we'll get back to it. Don't worry. The way I discovered it, I was at work in this new shopping center. They had like a bunch of different stores popping up, but they were like this store opened, and then like there were a handful of other ones that were supposed to open. So this randomly just opened, and it was literally across the street. You could walk there on your lunch break. So I was like, I'm going there. Go
Mm-hmm.
there. It's an amazing burger. I have an amazing time, and I come back to Maya. Maya likes burgers. We eat the same way, and I'm like, hey Maya. I want to take you to get this burger. And she was like, is this a really good burger? I was like, Maya, this is a really good burger. So we go get the burger. We come back to the house. She literally bit into it and just went, I'm gonna need that about once a week. And I was like, all right.
It is.
I'm glad I made a good decision.
It's an underrated chain, I would say, and everyone that goes is
Mhm.
like it's phenomenal, but then they never get it. Like it's an underrated chain. The prices aren't too bad. Like they're pretty fire.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yes. So I've literally been thinking about that burger all the doodah day. Yeah, so I'm just waiting on her to get off and this burger is happening. But how have you been? How has your day been? What's your day been like?
Work as per usual. It was a pretty normal day. Nothing too crazy. These last few weeks have been super crazy at work. Not going to go all the way into
Hmm.
it. We're not here for that. But it's actually been somewhat of a normal week, so that's pretty cool. I'm not sweating from stress nearly as much, so that's pretty
Oh,
awesome.
that's good. That's
Anyways,
good.
we're not here to talk about my boring life outside of this podcast. We're here to talk about the looming digital only consoles, game sphere, just kind of
Whoop,
everything.
whoop.
And so
The game sphere. That's funny.
I just kind of want to start off with, I mean, do you think that's the direction we're heading? Do you really think that we are going towards only digital gaming?
So yes, but the reason I think that isn't the reason a lot of people may think because
Okay.
I mean everybody points to right now in the news cycle if you haven't been paying attention. There was a brief scare, a momentary scare with exclusives that were formerly on Xbox now coming over to PlayStation, and not just like I don't know Ori and the Will o' the Wisp or something like kind of
Mm,
random, but no, we got Gears of War, we've got Starfield, we've got the Xbox heavy hitters, right?
yeah.
Coming over to PlayStation. And Phil Spencer has since said there are no plans to stop making consoles. It does beg the question: are consoles gonna be irrelevant, and is physical media gonna be irrelevant?
So I think that companies are pushing as hard as they can towards digital only, and specifically, they want to. I think the end goal is to be like a Netflix, a Hulu, a Disney Plus, like
Mhm.
all these, like a streaming service essentially, and maybe not quite only streaming, downloading too, but like Game Pass only, PlayStation Extra or whatever, Premium, whatever the hell they call it.
PlayStation Extra,
Uh,
PSX.
yeah, right. PlayStation Now essentially, right?
Okay.
They're pushing for that because they get to control all the media. It's a subscription, so if you don't use it, you're still paying constantly. If you buy one $70 game and you ride that bitch out, I mean, like think Baldur's Gate, right? Elden Ring, like
Hmm.
those games could last forever. You ride that bitch out for a few months, they get no more money from you. Even though you're playing their
Hmm.
console, they get $0 from you, right? And so with a subscription, whether you're playing the same game or multiple, they're still just constantly getting that drip. If I don't play Xbox Game Pass for a month, well, I just threw $10 to Microsoft for nothing. Shoot, it's more now. Just threw my money at
Yeah,
it
it's like 13, 14,
do
something like that.
nothing with it. So I definitely think they are. I think all companies are pushing for that subscription service because again, it's just no matter what you're paying them, no matter what you do. Now it's a scary future because
Very.
look what just happened with, and honestly, most examples I have are Sony related, which is really scary. Look what happened just now. I know it's non gaming related, but with Funimation, if you
Yeah.
purchased digital media, of course, like owning the subscription is one thing, or not owning, but using the subscription is one thing, but purchased digital media on there. Now that it's moved over to Crunchyroll, you no longer get that. All that media is
You don't have access to it,
gone.
no.
Doesn't matter. It's gone. And so, well, now why would I then go buy stuff on Crunchyroll? And that same thing can apply to Sony, Xbox, Nintendo. Well, I think Nintendo will be the last of the companies to do something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
Nintendo's gonna take their time going straight non-physical. Here's what's interesting, right? Because going digital makes sense from a financial
mm-hmm.
perspective if you're Microsoft or Sony, right?
Yep.
Because I mean, let's face it, production, manufacturing, it's an expensive process that I do not have a degree to even try to act like I understand it. But
Mm-hmm.
but it's expensive ultimately, even though $70 here, and obviously games are getting more expensive to accommodate for a manufacturing situation.
Yep.
But I mean, at the end of the day, like it's coming now.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the sole proprietor, right? As you know, you actually have a very like attractive collection of gaming hardware behind you. Could you like, there's a Wii, there's a Nintendo 64, there's a 360 on top. Is that a PlayStation Vita on the top shelf? What is that?
Up there. So that.
Second.
Oh, that's the Wii
There you-
U. That's the gamepad.
Oh, that's the Wii U. Gee, it came in a black. I only saw it in the white, and it
Yeah, the
got dirty when
black
people held
was
it.
32 gigabytes, so that had more storage.
Oh, you had the one with the most storage. That's so interesting. What were you playing? Wait, time out. Sidestep. What were you playing on the Wii U? That was so interesting.
So
32 gigs.
I didn't have a Wii U until way later. In fact, I probably wouldn't have one right now if it wasn't for the store shutting down. I got it because I saw the stores were shutting down. And I knew there's exclusive games that are only on those stores. And I'm sure at some point they'll get re-released, but for now, some of them you can't play anymore. And so I bought it to get those exclusive games before they were gone. So
Wow, that is dedication, my guy. And we've actually had this conversation before about how what like 90+% of all video games ever created just don't exist anymore because they were physical.
87% of games
80,
prior to 2010 are lost to time.
you know the number?
I looked it up beforehand, yes.
Oh, see, okay, thank you. I thought you were just this wizard, but I mean, you are a wizard, but that's another thing. Okay, so yeah, 87% of all games, which is kind of crazy to think about, especially when you consider how many games come out. Especially now, there are more games than ever. I know the whole thing is like there's nothing to play, everything's the same. No, there are tons of things, and probably a bunch of stuff you like. You're just not seeing it because it doesn't have a Starfield budget making it every
If you want
commercial.
to find new and unique stuff, go to indies. That's where it's at. That's where they're trying and
Ooh,
pushing the
yeah.
boundaries because it's a lower
That's
cost.
where you get the
smaller
weird
team.
shit, Bubba.
Yeah, right. It's just shorter, but you also usually pay less for that. I mean, indies I think are the way to go if you're really wanting to explore different types of games. But with that being said, something else Sony did to prove why this is scary. Even with games you buy, not even necessarily the streaming service side. The whole Discovery thing we talked about previously. If you bought Discovery Channel content, they lost the license, and so all your Mythbusters are now gone. And again, why would that stop with games in the future? If they lose a license, doesn't matter if it's in your library, doesn't matter if it's downloaded, gone.
So here's the thing: we actually have a very recent example. A couple weeks ago, Spec Ops: The Line, probably
Yes.
the most controversial Xbox 360 game ever to be a controversial Xbox 360 game. Not because it's bad, it's actually a very good game. They just
Mm-hmm.
tried something. They were way ahead of their time with that game, if we're
Yes.
just keeping it real. But this is a Spec Ops the Line Stan account here. And yeah, because of several licensing agreements of the actual game, it doesn't exist. You can't play it anymore unless you have the physical disc, which I'm thankfully it's sold just enough that there are plenty of Spec Ops the Line physical discs floating around.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of sucks that this game doesn't exist virtually anymore, which is insane.
Yeah. Something else, and that does suck. And something else that's scary. Alan Wake 2. Never had a physical release. Never anything. What if something happens with Remedy and they have to take it off stores for whatever reason? Right? Who knows?
Now you know something crazy.
It's
You want to know
gone.
something actually insane? That's actually not too far off. Remedy and Rockstar Games, yes, that
Mm-hmm.
Rockstar Games. They had a back and forth over something real stupid, the letter R. Um, yeah, both of their logos
Yep.
incorporate the letter R, and like that's a really big deal to Take Two Interactive, who owns Rockstar Games. I don't think Rockstar cares. I don't think Remedy even noticed. I want to say Remedy and Rockstar have been around about as long as each other.
And
Um,
I feel like honestly, it didn't look that similar. I mean, it didn't have a star in it. Like that's the whole like rock star, right? Like
Star,
Remedies was literally just a fucking R and a different font. Like I was like,
different
I don't
font,
understand
yeah.
where the grounding is for this.
There is none. Take Two are just a bunch of bullies. And because they're a bunch of bullies, there's nothing stopping them if they so decided. Just like, you know what? They got that stupid R logo in the front of Alan Wake 2. You know what? Let's just buy Remedy Studios, which they have more money, more than enough money to do it. They can
Mm-hmm.
do it 3 times over if they just felt like it.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and and they would just be like, all right, great. Now Alan Wake 2 doesn't exist. You have to play Alan Wake Remastered like a scrub. Even though that game is actually really good. We had a whole podcast about it. Check it out. Um, so yeah, no, it's not impossible, but this is a scary future. It's like a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, it really is because we won't be in control of anything we consume. I mean, think even right now, if Netflix takes something off and it's not anywhere else, the only way to watch is if you buy it from someone used, you somehow get a new one, or you pirate it. Like that is
Yeah.
it. There is no convenient way. There's no quick way. There's no fun way. There's no cheap way.
Mm-mm.
Like there's just no. And even with Best Buy, Walmart, they're all taking all their CDs off shelving. They're no longer selling
Oh my
movies
goodness.
and all that. So
I just saw a Twitter post about that, and it had the pictures of all the empty shelves and all the empty space. It was really sad, especially if you're someone like me or AJ, or maybe you're just old like me or AJ, and you remember that Best Buy DVDs were a big deal. Y'all remember when
mm-hmm.
Blockbuster was like a really big deal? I remember going to Blockbuster like every Friday, every other Friday, because I had good grades and I was a fat kid, so we get pizza and rent a video game. It was great. It was a fun time. And now I can't do that unless I live in Ohio, wherever the last Blockbuster is. So
uh,
there's that.
which would be so cool to visit. But it's I lost my train of thought. Never mind.
It's okay. It's okay. Listen, because as soon as you said, if Netflix, for example, were to take a show off, literally no exaggeration, Beef on Netflix. I know this is a gaming podcast, AJ. You're looking at me like shut up about something that's not a video game. Beef would make a great video game, by the way. But yeah, Beef on Netflix literally made me cry. I don't think it was trying to, but it made me cry. And like everybody won a bunch of Emmys off of it, and it's a great piece of content. However, if like you said, literally someone could be working in IT, sneeze, hit the wrong command, and now Beef is gone forever, and that makes me very sad.
Yeah, there's no way to watch it unless it's illegally. And here's the other thing too, is even if you wanted to go, which we don't condone here on the Mediocre Gamer
Uh-oh.
podcast,
We
we
don't
condone
condone stealing,
everything
pay
legal.
people.
Yes, but even if you wanted to go that route, even just from a preservation standpoint, right? Like if the files are up online, they're there forever. Someone's gonna have them, right? So at least
Hmm.
it's preserved, even if it's no like even if you're not paying for it, it's illegal. But if it's nowhere, if it's available nowhere, well, fuck, it's either then you don't get to play it. Especially when we do get to the age of a streaming service, and not streaming, but like only Game Pass, only these subscription services, I should say. there's no way to get that source code. There is no way. So when those games are removed, there truly is zero way to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will bring up that with physical media, it helps bring the prices down. But then they're like, well, look, that doesn't happen on PC. On
Nope.
PCs, but
Yeah.
PCs are different
Way different.
because there are multiple different retailers. Epic has their own game store. They don't have to, they don't have to sell stuff through PlayStation, through Xbox, through anything like that. They have their own store. World of Warcraft, its own launcher. Overwatch, its own launcher. Like, they're all their own thing, so they can keep their currency within themselves. They can be competitive, and if they raise prices on games or anything like that, well, someone else in another like secondhand digital marketplace can undercut them, so they can't do that. On a PlayStation, on an Xbox, they control everything. There is no third party if it's all digital. They can just keep hiking up prices until gamers are physically not gonna buy your games anymore. Just refuse to play video games.
AJ, I'm gonna say something, and it's gonna sound like you're gonna hate this idea, but I promise you're gonna love it. Okay?
All right.
NFTs. This is how NFT. Yeah. See,
I'm
you
more
ready to throw me off
confused.
the
I'm
podcast?
more
Yeah. Okay.
confused.
Watch this. Watch this. So here's the thing about NFTs, right? Because we remember when NFTs were really big, I think it was 2020,
Mm-hmm.
2021. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, this picture of this bored monkey is worth $10,000. And now
Yeah.
most of them aren't worth anything. But here's the interesting thing about NFTs that is very, very interesting. What it does, beyond just being like a virtual thing you can buy, sort of like an Xbox game or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it has a file with its own individual code, right? And you can make this individual code for each individual thing. And once you make however many codes, whether it be 100,000, 10,000, whatever the number is, that they will cease to exist. You can't really copy them because it has a weird kind of like failsafe. And
Yeah.
so that would give us an avenue to have a second market for an online game, right? Especially
Yeah.
if it was something like a PlayStation, because now modern consoles are literally just PCs with controllers. It's kind of scary to watch,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you could literally have if again in the interfaces, and this is we're probably a good 5 to 10 years away from this actually being in use, but if sorry, I'm holding my girlfriend's nail file. I stole it. If we were to implement that into PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
Xbox, if we as the gamers unify, we genuinely, honestly, no exaggeration, could fix the problem that we are facing with games just not existing anymore,
Yeah.
right? Probably not gonna come from PlayStation, probably not gonna come from Sony, Xbox, Nintendo. It's probably gonna be some weird person in their basement who makes our lives easier, and we appreciate you from the past into the future.
Absolutely. Uh, that that's honestly not too bad of an idea. The
I
NFT
know,
thing,
yeah.
it
See,
was out
I
there,
told
but
you, I told you, you're gonna, yeah.
it came together. I'll give you it. I'll give you it. Um, and something else to consider is a lot of these games, years down in the future and consoles are going to decay. Like having physical media doesn't necessarily mean preservation 100%, right? You can learn how to keep them alive. You can learn how to solder, how to do electrical stuff, but first of all, it takes a lot of time, skill, money. But then you also have like it still is like CDs will rot. You can't just bring a CD back, right? So at a certain point,
Isn't that crazy?
regardless, we're going to have them up all digitally, for
Hmm.
preservation standards. Now, something I've seen that people have thought of as SSDs get more advanced and cheaper, we could go back to cartridges. Because the thing with discs right now is they
Hmm.
only store up to 100 gigs on a Blu-ray
Right.
disc. It's 100 gigs. So, like Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, those bigger games, they don't fit all on a disc anyway. So when servers go down, if you plug that Baldur's Gate 3 disc in and you haven't already done it, it'll be unplayable. Now, most games will be playable. There's a website, I forget the
Hmm.
name, I'll have it up right here. That will
Shame.
show that'll show what games are compatible right off the rip with the disc. But keep in mind also there's no day one patches. You're gonna have all the bugs, and it's how it released. And that's another problem with games releasing in their unfinished states and updating later is when people go back, they're going to be locked to that initial like release the bugs and all, you
AJ,
know.
to the untrained listener, it sounds like you hate the modern gaming landscape. I know that's not how you feel. You
No.
love it here, but it just sounds because I mean, and there is so many different trade-offs with virtual media. Even though all media is eventually going to go virtual, we just have to accept that.
Yeah.
But it can also go physical. And physical is actually a great thing. We just me and my girlfriend we just did a convention, and at this convention they actually had refurbished. Nintendo 64s. I dropped something.
Oh, that's
They
cool.
had Nintendo N64s. They were like blue and like gold, and they had all the
Oh,
like
awesome.
vintage games. Oh my gosh, they were so expensive. And
I
um,
bet.
yeah, but it was really cool to see. And not only was it really cool, I was like, man, if I had like just $300 just burn a hole in my pocket, jeez Louise, I get that right now. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I can't go into gaming stores. Obviously, I haven't walked into one in a while because I'm
Just buy
stupid.
everything.
I'm stupid. Yeah, yeah.
You're not stupid,
I'll
AJ.
see
I
like
will say.
I'll see like 10 things I want. I'll be like optimizing price. Be like, okay, here's my budget. So like, how can I get the most out of like? It's bad, and I'll go in and be like, I'm just gonna browse, and like eventually I'll be like, okay, I'm dropping $100 a day. How am I dropping it?
Yes. Listen, me and Maya still need. We actually got a Switch. It was secondhand used.
Hmm.
It was used twice, but it was really only used once because I got it from my aunt, who got it from somebody else, and she got the Wii, but she didn't get the Wii controllers. So she doesn't have Wii controllers, but she has a brand new Nintendo Wii, and so
Love it.
it's been the bane of my existence because I really want to play it. And yeah, I just man, do you think we're gonna live in a world, right? Because obviously we know physical media is fading out. This is not a secret. It's been
Hmm.
that way for ages. Do we feel that there will be a world where we'll somehow reach a happy medium where okay, we'll make physical releases for X amount of things, and then with Alan Wake 2, that's a very specific example because the studio kind of self-published it. I say kind of
Yeah.
because obviously they had a huge marketing budget, but they're like at this stage in the game in Remedy's career, they're basically a multi-million dollar indie studio, which is very strange to think about. That's why they
Yeah.
make whatever they want and release it however they want, but they literally just couldn't afford to make a physical release of Alan Wake 2, which is
Hmm.
why it's on virtual only. And do you think we'll ever hit that happy medium? You think there's going to be some random company X, no, not that X, random company mediocre, okay? Random company M for mediocre. Keep
Hmm.
going. Um, that says, you know what? We'll print your games. Obviously, we'll put them on disc. We'll get them boxes, get them
Yeah.
art, however, whatever we got to do. But we just need a percentage. And then here's another question. Do you think that this could be another market that's like, hey, we want to publish your game physically? Give us the files, we will burn it, we will test it, we'll make sure everything works, we'll get the instruction manual. If there's a collector's edition, we can put posters in there, and then like you'll have like 4 or 5, maybe if that many, distributors who basically secondhand make physical copies. I feel like there's a real market for it, probably for very specific games, but I feel like that's next.
So what you just described is called limited run
Hmm.
games. They are,
Kind of, yeah.
yeah. So you've heard of them. I mean, kind of, yeah, right. I mean, they don't have the second hand. I don't think. I think it's all just in house. But they do something similar, like where they take games that mainly indie games that were
Hmm.
digital only, and they make a limited run. Hence why it's called limited run games of
Hmm.
printing of that game in physical form, right? So like, I mean, shoot, if you look at prices for like a used Celeste from limited run games, it actually goes up for a pretty high price because it is a really good
It's
game, and
physical.
so it's physical, right? It is official. It is able to be played, and so I think companies like that are huge. But here's the issue: is
Oh, here we go.
if the console manufacturers don't make a console that can have any sort of physical media to put into it, such as a CD or cartridge,
Okay,
they,
so
they,
so
they have no
we're taking
market.
shots. We're taking shots at Xbox. I would say PlayStation, but PlayStation's actually been pretty good about
They're moving
being
towards it.
accommodating.
They're moving towards
I
it.
mean, they are. I mean, the new PlayStation Slim actually has a detachable disc drive, which is really cool.
But
Can we talk
here's
about that?
it's super cool. There's a problem with it though. Huge
Of
caveat.
course.
Of course,
Huge
right?
caveat.
I always have a problem with
Huge
everything,
caveat.
right? It's
Caveat.
great idea, and I think it's an idea that should stick for a bit. I hope, especially in this next console generation. But to use that disk drive, you have to have the internet to connect it to your. When you plug it in, you have to like sync it
Oh
with your hardware
yeah.
through the internet. So again, in
Mhm.
the main fight for physical is preservation. So in a preservation standpoint, once the servers go down, it doesn't matter you have a disk drive. You might as well huck it in the trash. It's useless because there's no server to do that with. So at that point, long term, it's really a digital console. And so I'm really scared that this next set of consoles are going to be the same thing. I think the PlayStation 6 is going to be an optional disc drive thing. I think it's going to be our last real console generation with that, with the big two. I think Nintendo's going to
I
hold
was
on to
just
it.
gonna say because we're getting real close to the next console generation, and it does
Mm-hmm.
not feel like it. But
Yeah.
we're getting real close. The what was it? The PlayStation 5 came out what 2018,
I, I
2019,
think
something
around
to that
there.
effect.
I'll have it up. The PlayStation said that they are in the latter half of the PlayStation's lifespan. So I mean, they've already confirmed that we're getting
Hmm.
there already. And yeah, the PlayStation 5 doesn't even feel that old. It feels still new. There's
It does feel really new. There are people
tons.
who just
Yeah,
aren't getting any.
there's tons and tons of people are still rocking their PS4, and it's really, it's those people that are playing, your easier games. Like I have a buddy who exclusively plays Fortnite and Overwatch. He's like, why would I upgrade? I
Oh
have
yeah, yeah.
zero reason,
Yeah.
right?
Why would
So
you upgrade? You literally have no incentive. Yeah.
exactly.
Versus me, I literally wanted to play Deathloop, and then I got COVID, and I beat Deathloop in like a week. I don't know how many hours I put into that game. It has to be over 100.
Such a cool game, right? But
Goodness, that game is so good.
uh, anyways, it's so if
Sorry, I
they
got
do
you
that, no,
sidetracked
you're
with
good.
Deathloop.
You're good. You're good. If excuse me, if they do that with this next generation of consoles and onward, and if they even have disk drives onward, what does that mean for the future preservation? It's immediately useless. Like once PS5, technically the first generation, would be the only ones collectors are buying, and that'll be the last generation that you can collect for. It's over.
Huh?
Again, except for
That's
Nintendo.
kind of
I think
crazy.
I truly believe Nintendo will always make physical games, even when it doesn't make sense. I think they still will. I'm probably wrong, but in 50 years,
Why do you
they
have to
probably
be
won't.
wrong about
But
something, AJ?
it's pretty rare, right? But except for when I'm talking about Helldivers, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Can we harp on that for like 2 seconds?
sure,
Because
sure.
you said Helldivers looked generic as hell, and you didn't know why I was at the PlayStation event. And to be completely fair, I didn't know why I was at the event either. But I knew because here's the thing about Sony. I'm gonna go on a mini tangent. I do this
Mm-hmm.
every episode, and I'm really sorry, AJ. But Sony does this weird thing where they only pick the cream of the crop. I don't know how they do
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't know what their process is for doing it, but they literally, it feels like they handpick a handful of creatives and say, listen, this is what you're not allowed to do. Do whatever you want within these parameters,
Yeah.
right? And then you get games like the God of War, not remake, I guess like part two, the 2018 God of War. You get the Spider-Man games, you get a bunch of other games, and you get The Last of Us. And this is why when Helldivers was at the Sony event, I was like, there has to be something we don't know. Like there
Yeah.
has to be something that we just genuinely are not following. And there was. It's a $40 hell of an experience that you
Yeah.
can play with your friends.
Yep. Yep. I've yet to even get my hands on it. I'm planning on this weekend playing with some friends, but
Oh
it's
hell yeah.
I've heard just raving reviews from them. They can't put it down, and so again, I've said it last time, and I'll say it again. I was wrong on that. Obviously,
Wow.
I still
Wow.
stand by my statement though. From just the trailer, it doesn't look super enticing. I
I will
stand by
I
it.
will give you
I will
that.
die on that hill. But
I will give you that. The trailer, the 45-second clip that they showed did look pretty generic.
yeah,
But I will say I knew there was a reason they were showing, kind of like with the Death Stranding 2 trailer. I was like, there's gotta be something because Sony wouldn't greenlight Death Stranding 2 if there wasn't something genuinely interesting to try and play
but
with.
see, that's the thing though. That trailer, granted, it was much longer, and that game has like a
Oh yeah.
crazy story, so there's a lot more going on.
You could
But
argue it doesn't have a
still,
story at all, but let's keep going.
just a clusterfuck of a story, but still,
This stuff happened.
uh, it still had me engaged in something that I didn't previously care about. And I care about co-op shooters because I always have fun with my friends with those, and I wasn't engaged. So that just shows from a trailer standpoint it wasn't that interesting. Either way, it's a blast. Without me even playing it, I can say that. So, that's that. But back to Nintendo. I think that they will do physical media for as long as they can. I do think there'll come a point where they will feel the pressure from the execs, just like they did with phone games. They said for a while that they will never, ever do phone games. And what do you know? We have Mario Run, Mario Circuit, Pikmin Go, or whatever the fuck
Okay,
it's called.
time out. When did they say that? Was that before or after Candy Crush crossed like $1 billion? Because
It
I feel like
was
a lot of gaming companies.
it was around that time where like the execs were
hmm
like mobile games, and Nintendo's like never. That's not what we're
Yeah,
not putting
and then
Mario on the
Candy Crush
phone.
made $1 billion. Like, I need you to understand, it's not just Activision Blizzard anymore. It's Activision Blizzard
And
King,
King,
the people who
yeah.
make Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, dog. I need this, that, the whole mobile game scene is a whole other tangent that we could all just dive into because it's an
Hmm.
interesting
And there's well,
situation.
and there's a difference between a game that's made for mobile and trying to make a console
Mm.
game work for mobile, right? You see like, and even like, let's look at Nintendo's examples. You have Mario Run versus the Mario Kart Tour, and a lot of people bitch about Mario Kart Tour as I'm about to praise it, but I think Mario Kart Tour is a great uh, example of what you can do to make a console game work on a phone. I think it works fantastically. A nice little swipe of your finger and you're driving, tap for a item. Super simple to do. I wish racing was a little more focused over points. Again, it's not perfect, but
Mm.
I think it's a really good concept of how it can work. And they're quick, bite-sized races. That's a key thing, is bite-sized stuff on phones. Whereas Mario Run, it is bite-sized, it is quick, it is simple, but it's very short-lived. There's nothing really to work towards. You get through it in like an hour and a half, maybe only an hour.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I played it, but it just goes to show that not every game's meant for it. We've seen plenty of game companies try to do full game remakes, such as like the Mega Man's, Raymans, Sonics, and they just never really
I
work
mean,
out
Grand Theft Auto
in the end.
had some mobile remakes. I think you can still
And they
get San
were,
Andreas
and
and
they're
Vice City.
fine. They're fine.
I mean,
They're
listen,
fun,
Grand
but
Theft Auto, like any of the 3D ones, running on an iPad blew my mind. You can
mm-hmm.
run Resident Evil Biohazard 7 on, I don't know why I said both. You can run Resident Evil 7 on the new iPhone. You can do that
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, and but that
And
like
it looks great, actually. It looks
that's
really good.
that's fantastic. But are you gonna sit there and really play Resident Evil 7 on your phone?
AJ, it's not about that. It's the fact that I have
I,
the option to play Resident Evil 7 on my phone.
That's my point, though, is like, make a game for, like, there's a Doom game for phones, but it doesn't play really like Doom. It has a bunch of features of it, but it plays like a
hmm
phone game. It's bite sized, it's simple, it's one hand, it's don't have to rotate it. Like, there are many things that are different about the mobile game market than
Oh, 100%.
the console.
And here's something interesting. If, and I do mean if we go full digital, let's just say it's the apocalypse,
Yeah.
everything's going digital, a hamburger costs $15 at McDonald's. Um what I think the mobile games would be to thank for that. Because here's the thing. Mobile games, again, Candy Crush is probably one of the first ones to do it. The Fortnite mobile game has been nothing but successful. The
Mhm.
PUBG mobile game had middle schools and high schools everywhere on a lock when
Yeah.
that when that came out. That was all you played. It was PUBG on an iPad or a phone, and it was like 2K on console. Like, it was kind of crazy, the lock that they had, the hold they had. And I think that because console gaming is a completely different animal than mobile gaming, I don't know if we'll ever go the full way, but
Mhm.
I do think this whole move towards it is definitely because they were just like, you're telling me you made $1 billion off of your character looking different, not even playing different. It doesn't
Yeah.
even have to affect gameplay. You just gotta look different. Hold on.
Oh yeah, exactly. And especially with the gaming peripherals like the Razer Kishi, we have the backbone uh, that connect to phones. Essentially turn your phone into like
Oh
a switch,
yeah.
right? A controller on each side. And like those are awesome additions, I think, to make those more like Biohazard more playable on a phone. But again, it comes down to it. Like when I'm out and about with my phone, I'm not gonna whip that out, pull my phone sideways, and be ripping that on my phone. And if because usually when you're like out and about, you have like 10 minutes at most to like do something. I think that's why Pokemon emulators are so big on phones for a while, because that's quick and easy. You quick do a few battles while you're waiting, it's fine. But like Resident Evil, like, you get sucked into it, and then if I'm
You're
home,
supposed to, yeah.
I'm just gonna play it on my TV. Like there's, I'm not,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's not to discredit. It's still awesome that it runs. It's still awesome that the option is available. I just
And
don't
it
see.
looks really good.
It does, yes. That's awesome. I'm glad that that's a thing. That's cool. I'm all about cool things, but I just don't see it being profitable in the long run doing stuff like that. I think we've seen that in the past too. But with
Oh
those
yeah,
peripherals, it's
100%.
gonna help.
I mean, listen, do you know how much money Nintendo could make if they just released the Pokemon Red, Blue, Green on
Oh
on
my
a phone? Do you know
gosh,
how much money they would
it would be
make?
stupid. I want
It
it
would, it,
so bad.
and like the emulators, honestly, just showed how easy it was and how well it translated. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
granted, they're still making a lot of money off Pokemon
Yeah,
Go. People are still buying Pokemon games every year. Power World is officially getting sued, baby. So maybe we'll get a better Pokemon game next year.
I doubt it, but we'll see. Well, and here's the thing also is like there is plenty of other series outside of Pokemon, like RPGs specifically are fantastic for phones. Great example. The government cover your ears. I had an emulator for Persona and Atlas. I had an emulator for Persona 3 Portable that was on the PSP on my phone, and it plays phenomenally on phones because I mean I wish it was a touchscreen, but it's like you just move the stick to select stuff, and then like
Oh
you
yeah,
run
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
Okay.
run around these dungeons, and when you hit like a shadow, it starts combat and it's turn based. So like it's really like not precise timing. There's nothing crazy. You don't have to worry about a bunch of buttons. Like it works phenomenally on phones. So I think RPGs in general, especially older ones, could work, especially turn based, work really
Oh
well on
yeah.
phones. So I think that those are the kind of games. If we're gonna re-release a full game on a phone, do that. I think that's phenomenal.
It sounds like, and stop me if I'm wrong, that we may not need to worry about physical media as much. We may not need to if Nintendo brings the DS back. And I know what you may be thinking. I know what you may be thinking. They already have the Switch. It's basically the DS. No, 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 no. The DS was better. I will die on that. The DS is probably the second best console to the GameCube ever.
I'm
But
gonna counter,
oh Jesus.
and with a horrible counter,
Caveat.
is it sold
Oh
horribly.
God.
But
What, the
man,
Vita?
if they did it right, something like the Via Vita did this kind of, the Wii U. Now,
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. You were probably gonna say the same thing. Go ahead.
yeah, it might seem crazy, but DS games specifically worked phenomenally on it. Because you had like your map or whatever was on the bottom screen, you had what was on the top screen. So as you're sitting playing like this, you could easily just like go through both. So DS games work really well in that. So I think if they used it better, shoot, even if they did like a lot of map, like because like a lot of games, the screen's just blank as you're playing the gamepad's just off. And I get it,
Didn't do
you have to
anything
do
else.
something different for this versus other consoles and whatever. But how hard is it to have like a map or your inventory or all like think of Minecraft?
Or
How
something.
awesome that would be. They had Minecraft on the Wii U and they did nothing new with it. You could just play it portably. That's the only thing that changed. But which really was in your bed because you only could be like 30 feet away. But what
Pretty
they could
much.
have done is had your inventory down here open at all times. You could touch screen and move stuff around. Like I think that was ahead of its time.
The Wii U was definitely ahead of its time, but imagine a clamshell Wii U. Okay, it's like the Switch but better. It has two screens, and then
an,
that actually might be what Nintendo's new console is because we're expecting that in what, a month or something to that effect.
an announcement in
Anywhere
March
from month.
is
Yeah,
the
an
rumor.
announcement in March. I am willing. I'm not gonna bet, but if I were to bet, I'm willing to bet that it's going to be something that resembles a clamshell Switch that you can dock because we know that it's mobile. We know that it still has a dock. We know it still attaches to TV. We know that it functions by itself. What if it's literally a clamshell? And then here's the thing about the Switch, because I know Nintendo was making stupid money off the accessories, but a lot of people didn't feel like buying a case, a stylus, a controller, a this, a that. What if walk with me for a second. I'm pitching. Hey, listen, it's my classic pitch. Again, steal these ideas. They're yours. Have them. Switch. You add the screen on top while you're playing. The screen on the bottom does what it wants. You close it. It's like a little clutch. You can put it in your bag. You can put it in another clutch if you just wanted to. I don't know how you live your life, AJ. And you can go around. You do your thing. You run your errands. You wait in the post office line. You're playing Pokemon that resembles like Power World a lot now because again Nintendo's gonna sue. And you come back home. You drop it back in. You jump back into Pokemon World, not Power World, Pokemon World, and you pick up your controller and you keep playing. I feel like the clamshell Switch is gonna be the announcement. That's how I feel because again, it seems random, but so did the GameCube. So did the Nintendo Switch. So did the fucking DS. The DS was way ahead of its time.
Oh yeah.
Don't even get me started on how ridiculous everybody thought the Nintendo Wii was. Don't even get me started, dude. I picked this back up again. I'm really sorry. It feels really.
I've been
But
playing with this
dude,
pencil.
I was gonna say fidget buddies. Anyway,
ADHD unite.
wahoo! But yeah, no, I think a clamshell Switch is coming, and I feel that Nintendo's push to more cartridges, doubling down on cartridges, making them look more like chunky pieces of shit, I think is gonna benefit everybody, and maybe just maybe Nintendo's example is gonna make the rest of the gaming world be like, you know what, maybe we should have physical releases. That's just me, but we gotta wait
Like,
till March, unfortunately.
like I said, with back to the whole digital versus physical thing. I hope with as SSD technology gets cheaper, we can start having cartridges again. Like not Switch cartridges, like true cartridges that can have like a good sized game on it, and we can just plug it in. I know it seems archaic, but it also lasts longer. These Switch cartridges are going to last way longer than discs will if they're taken care of
And any
properly.
disc.
Yes, exactly. So, and they're a lot less prone to scratches, to cracks, to breaks, to all of that. So with all that being said, that's about all I had to say on this digital versus physical morbid future we have coming up. Is there anything else you have to say about it?
Just that, hey, mediocre gamer fam, we love you. AJ loves you. I love you. Pac-Man loves you behind AJ there. And like, comment, subscribe helps us out a ton, more than we can actually articulate. And check out our socials, dog. Get at
Yes,
us on
sir.
Twitter. Get at us on Instagram. Get at us on TikTok. I'm sure links will be below. And if they're not below, you can find us
They always
somewhere
are.
over the rainbow. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. They've been under there this whole time, and you fuckers ain't like, comment, or followed us on nowhere else. That's crazy. I'll be waiting for you though. Don't worry.
I thought we were a
And
family,
yeah,
right?
I thought we were a family. Check on your crazy cousins. Anyway,
It's mom and dad,
we love you,
right?
mediocre gamer fam. Mom and dad, yes, that's right, mom and dad, and we don't know which one's mom. We love you, and we will see you in the next video. AJ, anything else you want to tell them?
As always, stay mediocre.